This is exciting. This is the Smithsonian Institute first webinar of 2019. Very exciting. We have a lot of people who are still getting onto the Zoom, but I'm going to start. This is our Get Organized, Get More Done webinar with Carrie Peeples as our guest expert. And just for those of you who don't know me, I'm Laura Camacho, and I'm a communication coach, and I started Smithsonian Institute in 2009, basically seeing how people who used to sweet talk the teacher into getting better grades were making more money than I was. So that kind of helped me realize the importance of communication skills. And then that just grown and grown and grown. And now I'm doing webinars mostly to satisfy my own curiosity and to talk. There's just so many cool people out there. So you never know, I may call you and ask you to be on a webinar. So I am not a naturally organized person. I would say before Carrie helped me, I was probably a 4 on a 1 to 10, and maybe now I'm a 6.8. Carrie will organize anything. I mean, she's the kind of person who loves to color code, and alphabetize, and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Shelly. So, Carrie, why don't you tell us how you started Neat Smart?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And yes, I do love color coding, and I do love alphabetizing. I just love creating order. It satisfies my artistic brain, and it just, you know, life just looks better and is better and functions better when you know what you have and where you can find it. And I love helping people get to that point as well. So I started Neat Smart in 2012. I spent about 15 years in corporate America doing everything from, training pharmaceutical reps on how to use Salesforce automation software, which really kind of makes me laugh today because this was in the late 90s. And we had to teach things like how to send an email and how to connect to the World Wide Web and the internet. And it was just, it's funny to think of all these things that we take for granted now that are just a part of our life that were really new and brand new technology. Another job that I have is I worked for a software company that was a startup. I remember one of the guys talking about this new thing coming out called Twitter. And wow, why would you ever tweet something? And what is Twitter? And I think then it was what, 46 characters or however Twitter started. And it was just like, that's the weirdest thing ever. So it's been fun to see all the technology change. But anyway, so I spent many years teaching people how to use software systems. I worked in sales. I still try to use my drawing and painting major to find creative solutions to things. And then in 2012, actually the end of 2011, the company that I worked for was bought out. And I took that as my cue that it was time to exit stage right. Because I was not really thrilled with corporate, corporate America is fine, but it just wasn't for me. And I really wanted to branch out on my own and do what I feel like I was called to do. I feel like I have this gift and talent, and I love to share it with people. So Neat Smart has been around since 2012. So we're going into our, if I can do my math right, 7th year here.
All right, just launched our first poll. And the wording, it may not be clear, is how much time does the average American spend looking for things each day? When I can't find certain papers and I have to reprint them, that's always annoying. Or can't find something that you wanted to wear a certain day. So we have 4 choices: 10 minutes, 25 minutes, 45 minutes, or 1 hour. I'm going to give another few seconds. We have a few of these questionnaires. Make sure you are all paying attention, because if you're going to be here, you want to be here. Hey, Karen, I see you. Hi, Carol. Elijah, welcome. Julie, welcome. I see some people. We have someone from Texas. I think Melissa gets the award for most far away attendee. All right, I'm going to close down the poll. I'm going to give it just another. All right, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results, and Carrie will tell us what was the right answer.
Okay, I had to put my glasses on because I can't read this. Okay, I hate to say it, but only 10% of you are right. Of course, the answer is which 10%. So the average American spends 45 minutes a day looking for things. And this is something I talk about a lot when I give presentations and even helping people in their homes is, what would you do with an extra 45 minutes a day? I'm sure you could find something that you'd rather be doing than looking for something. So you think about even just that 45-minute span. And yes, that's annoying, but also think about the stress and the anxiety that you're giving yourself when you're disorganized, when you can't find things. And this can be everything from, something innocuous like your car keys, but if you can't find them, you can't leave your house and you can't get to your appointment on time, or you can't go buy groceries, or if you're late picking up your child from daycare, you're going to incur fees for that. So being disorganized has so many costs beyond just the time. And you know what? Time is the one non-renewable resource we all share. You can't get time back. And you also can't get the stress and anxiety back. I mean, once you actually find your car keys or find the papers you were looking for, can you?
I just relaunched it. We have so far we have 3 people that can tell we're related.
Okay.
Okay.
That's funny. It took me a second. I'm like, wait, what? Can I tell? Yes, I can. Anyway, there's so many costs associated with being disorganized. So again, there's the time factor, then there's the stress, then there's the anxiety, and then there's just the actual, whatever it is that you're losing out on. I mean, I can tell you times when I worked in corporate sales and I pulled up the wrong contract template. So if I did that, which fortunately I caught myself, I could have done pricing incorrect for a whole company, and that would have had very big cost. I probably would have lost my job. But if you can't find papers, or you can't find a report that's due to your boss, or you can't find the phone number of somebody that you need to contact, or even you can't find a check. I can't tell you how many times I work with a client and lo and behold, we discover either cash or gift cards or checks, that, oh my gosh, I forgot that I had this, or oh my gosh, I've been looking for this. So there's there's real value to knowing what you have and where things go.
Right. And I think the thing is the stress, because I know that when I can't find something, it just makes me so annoying. And then we know that emotions are contagious. So that stress is affecting other people as well. So that's going into the cost of not being organized. So I'm going to have a few more questions, but I want everybody to please feel free. We want to know your questions as well. So you can write them in the chat or the Q&A. So Carrie, tell us, what are some easy things, because we only want easy things, to be organized on a consistent basis? Because there's one thing to get organized January 1st, but what about January 31st? How do you stay organized?
That's an excellent question, and I wish it just involved waving a magic wand, because that would make things a lot easier. Of course, that would mean that I don't have a job. But the main thing is that it requires a commitment to wanting to be organized and making it part of your day, which I think gets into time management. Anything as simple as at the beginning of the day when you're getting started, make your to-do list. What are the things that you have to get done today? My husband worked for Arthur Andersen about 1,000 years ago, and he said the first thing that they taught him was to make a to-do list. And he laughed, was like, well, duh, doesn't everybody do a to-do list? And they don't. And most people are like, oh, I'll remember that. I don't need to, I don't need to take the time to write that down. Or they think, oh, it's going to take me too long to write things down, so I'll just get it done. Well, other things take up time and take up your energy and your focus, and then you don't remember those things. So as far as how do you get and stay organized, first it's just tackling one piece at a time and identifying what is it that where is my clutter, where is my disorganization. If your desk is a disaster and you've got piles of papers everywhere, then set aside 15 minutes and set a timer and go through those papers and eliminate what's trash, decide what you need to keep, and then you can work on later setting up the system for for where to keep those things. But you've really got to make a commitment to setting aside the time to do those things. I used to always make my to-do list at the end of the day before I left the office. And I still do that today, where I think about, what is it I need to get done tomorrow? Because once I quit working, there's a million things that come across my mind. And when I start up work the next morning, I want to kind of continue on the path that I was working on before. So I would say you've got to just commit to the time that you're going to actually get organized.
Okay, but this is something that I hear all the time inside my head. I think you've heard it, because you're talking about the organized desk, and I'm looking around at some of my piles, but I want to be able to see things because I'm afraid of out of sight, out of mind. So I think
that speaks to having a system. Maybe you need to have a system so that you know where you can find those things. A lot of people are visual, and I get it as well. Oh, if I put this in a drawer, I'm not going to see it. And right. I think you can create that system for storing that, again, whatever it is, then that makes it easier for you to know, okay, I can put this away because I know where I can find it again. I think when people don't know where they can find it again, they just leave it on their desk, and it's like, well, it'll get lost in this shuffle. Another option that you can do is I used like a vertical file stacker on my desk for the current projects that I'm working on. And I wish I had an example in front of me. I can't show it to you, but it's a file sorter that's on your desk, but it's graduated so that you can see the files that are on there. But you just have to be careful about not cluttering up your space, because visual clutter, the stacks and the piles, that's clutter for your brain, because your brain has to process all of that information. And again, when you don't know where it goes and you just have it on there, it's just like this constant reminder of, hey, here's something that needs your attention. So I think what I would advise is setting up a system for where you need to store those papers. But if it's something that you're going to be using, let's say you're working on a project or you're working on a new presentation, you may have a bunch of research and papers that you need to have access to every day. Well, designate a place for that, whether it's an inbox or that vertical file storage, so that you can see what you have.
Yeah, I really like that vertical file storage. I think I'm going to go get one. Speaking of filing, I have one more poll for everybody.
Yes.
About the filing cabinets. So how many sheets of paper do you think are in a full 4-drawer filing cabinet? Just to give you a little hint at how many pieces of paper that we were dealing with, even though technology was supposed to take care of that. Well, people are giving pretty heavy estimates there. My first guess was 4,000. Nobody is that naive as I was.
Well, I can tell you, I was shocked when I found this number out. And in a way, it doesn't matter what the answer is, because these are all big numbers, and I don't want to think about having to sort this many papers.
All right. Well, the sharing it, and looks like most people did get it right.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I mean, think about it. A 4-drawer filing cabinet, if it's stacked, jammed, it's got 18,000 pieces of paper. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of stats on paper that I can tell you about that'll kind of frighten everyone. But the thing is, we actually produce more paper today than we did 20 years ago. Everyone said, oh, we'll have a computer, and oh, that'll be digitized, and oh, we won't need paper anymore. But people print out things because it's easier to read, or they like making notes, or how much junk mail do you still get every day, even though supposedly nobody uses the mail service. So you just have to be careful about keeping everything. And the thing is, you don't have to keep all of these papers. I've got a paperwork timeline that I think that I'll mention a little bit later, that you can get if you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, which comes out once a month. But it tells you how long to keep, bank statements, credit card statements, what do you need to keep forever, what can you let go of. And I think that can give you some reassurance that you're not keeping everything beyond what when you need to.
And what about email? What do you think about organizing email?
I've heard lots of different theories on this. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you can just use search so you can find anything you want. I think that would be you. I am a big fan of, I love decluttering and I love eliminating what's not necessary. And if I don't have to look at it, I don't want to. So I try to delete as much as possible, but just like a filing cabinet, I create folders for the things that I do need to hang on to. But what you have to caution against is using your email inbox as your to-do list. I think a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to come back and do this later, so I'm just going to leave that message there. I'm going to flag it as unread because I'll come back and read it later. I think a better system would be to go ahead and write down, hey, follow up with Laura on the webinar topic, if that's what that email pertains to, because then once you've actually written that task down, you're much more likely to accomplish that task and you're not having to make more work for yourself to go back and read that email. Does that make sense?
So you're saying you get 10 emails and say you can delete 4 of them and 2 you can address right away and the other ones go in that, I need to come back to this later. So you're saying to write down
what it is what do you need to do with those? Okay, I got lost in the math there, but let's just say
the math, but the ones that you can't deal with right away.
Yeah, the things that really require your attention, I mean, that becomes a to-do. That's something that you've got to get accomplished. However, if it's something that will take less than 5 minutes, just do it. That's my rule. If you've got to respond to an email and it will take you less than 5 minutes, go ahead and get it over with and then delete it so you don't have that hanging over your head. The thing is, we've got all of this new technology, and I know email is not new, but you have all these reminders and notices and tweets and dings and alerts, and there's so much that's vying for your attention. You really have to take control and say, no, this is how I'm going to work. I'm going to respond to this email when I have time, or I'm going to, finish this project at a time that makes sense to me. But you have to caution against allowing all of this extra stuff to come into your life and into your inbox, because it's all vying for your attention.
It is, and I think it's so overwhelming. So you are a fan of writing things down. You don't use like notes or.
I write. I use notes. Here's one of my many notepads. I use a notebook. This is a spiral bound book that I carry around. This is like my keeping notes for my business. The thing is, when you write things down, it helps to imprint on your brain that you need whatever thought or whatever idea you have. If you say, I'm going to remember that, I'll just, I got it up here, I'll remember it. You will not remember it. You cannot, I'm sure there are statistics out there on how much you can remember, but think about it.
3 things. You can basically remember 3 things. So
that's why people lose their keys and leave their kids in their cars, because they can only remember 3 things. So you've got to, I guess, surrender to the notion that, just writing it down actually means you'll probably remember it. But there is no greater satisfaction than marking that to-do item off of your to-do list. So yeah, and thinking back to planning ahead and how you are going to work every day, maybe it's even setting aside time to read your email and not doing it, not constantly getting that feed. I think when you're working on a project or you're working on a specific task, maybe you turn your email off so that you're not getting those alerts and dings that are distracting your attention. It's being very intentional about how you're spending your time and how you're working.
I didn't even know you can do that. You can stop your email?
You can just stop. If you're working at your computer, you could just turn your email, not turn it off. You could just shut down that application so that you're not getting those notices.
Okay.
And put your phone away.
Right. Turning your phone notifications off. So how does time management relate to managing all these tasks? What comes first?
Say that again.
The relationship between time management and managing the task and managing the files, like what are the overriding principles that we need to get?
So managing your time is like managing stuff. It's grouping like with like. So tasks
Okay.
that are similar, grouping those together. You hear a lot of bloggers or Instagrammers or people that have repeatable tasks, like people that are writers. They set aside a block of time to write, whether they're writing a book and they're working on a chapter or they're writing blog posts, but it's blocking the time to get those things done. And just like organizing your desk, it's creating, you're grouping similar items together. You group your paper to your blank paper together. You group your pens together. You group your mailing supplies together. So it's creating these categories of things that you're doing together, because it becomes more of a repeatable action when it's, let's say I'm going to block out 20 minutes to respond to emails. Your mind's already in that mindset, or you're already in that mindset of, okay, I got to answer these questions. Boom, boom. You get them done much more efficiently when you block out the time for it, as opposed to going from one task to another task to another, back to the first and then to the second. You're like a tennis match. You're going back and forth instead of just focusing on one task at a time or one type of task at a time.
But do you have a system or a way to deal with interruptions?
Stop them. As much as you can. That's why I say turn off your email or turn off your alerts, close your door. I got to say, I think this modern idea of the open floor plan for working is the worst. It's too distracting. Unless you want to end up, maybe get the Mickey Mouse headphones so that you can have some silence. But I think that's very distracting and very negative on productivity. But
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot when
you see it more and more. It's cheaper than having walls, but it's not good for productivity. So I think, as much as you can block out and have a singular focus. And even if that singular focus is, I'm going to work on this project or this task for 5 minutes. Even if it's just 5 minutes, if you really block out everything else, no alerts, nothing, you can get a lot done in 5 minutes.
Right. You can, if you really focus. All right. Do we have any questions? It seems like somebody just emailed me a question. Okay, here's a question. Is there a good way to approach others with suggestions to have better organized meetings? Is like letting other people's lack of organization affect you, which it does. When you work with people who are not organized, it definitely affects you. So that's a really good question, issue. As a follow-up, the problem with people being late to meetings and teleconferences. So do you have something to say on that issue?
On the lateness, I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself. So if a client is late, they're going to lose out with time. And I would say I would implement a fee or a fine for people who show up late to meetings. Yeah, I know that sounds draconian, but I think, I think it's just like disciplining any behavior. If there's a negative repercussion for people doing that, then they'll be much more likely to not do that. But another thing is to also examine, would this meeting be better attended if it were held at a different time? You could also try positive reinforcement, like encouraging, rewarding people who are showing up on time. As far as other people's organization issues, you really can't change another person. You can certainly make suggestions, and I would say the best thing to do is to model that behavior. But I don't know how much you can really change how another person works by offering.
I am going to add to that, because I see the communication issue ties into that. And what I find is that people think that the meeting is a kind of a waste of time anyway, so they don't take it seriously. And so they just show up when they show up and maybe not pay attention. And these are generalizations. It may not apply to every single thing, but this is definitely a problem with meetings. And I suggest whether or not you're the leader, that we have a discussion about, hey guys, if we run this meeting better, we get part of our lives back.
Absolutely. That's a great suggestion.
Yes. So if we're going to show up on time or we're not, we're going to have an agenda or we're not. But if we show up on time, this hour-long meeting can turn into a 40-minute meeting if everybody's tuned in. And I think even if you're not leading the meeting, that's a good, at least it's a start to that conversation of, hey, we all want parts of our life back.
Yes.
We all have things to do.
No, I think it's a great suggestion. I think it's getting a common ground on, we can all agree that we want more time here. We don't want to waste any time. But I think, from my experience, probably at least half the meetings that are held are unnecessary or could be handled with an email. But
yeah, I think that's a good just conversation starter to like revamp your meetings, and with a trade-off, we're going to have better meetings and fewer ones or shorter ones. We've got another question. I love this question because this is what I struggled with. So listen to this. My biggest distraction is the friendly coworker who comes to chat. There are several people who do that, and all that time each day adds up to time wasted. I feel for you how to cut that down off without seeming unfriendly. All right, I'll let the organizer speak, and then I know exactly how that feels. It's horrible, but
yes, and I worked in a cubicle where the entrance into my cubicle was behind me, so people were always sneaking up on me. It drove me crazy. But you can do visual cues as much, like, again, having the headphones on, or you could even put a do not disturb sign on your cube if possible. But otherwise, I would just be very kind and direct and say, I would love to discuss this with you. I'm on a deadline. I've got to get this project finished. Let's chat at 3:00 today or something, or let's go grab a coffee then. Again, is it social or is it business? If it's business, they can make an appointment, but I think you really got to be firm in setting those boundaries, just like being very clear about, this is what I am doing right now. Right now, for the next 20 minutes, I have to work on this project, but I would be happy to talk to you about it afterwards.
Exactly. It reminds me of my always have an exit plan for conversations, because as an introvert, you get tired. It takes a lot of energy of the conversing, especially if it's just like a shooting the breeze kind of thing.
Well, I'm an extrovert, and it's, I cannot stand not be able to get my things done. It's like, I understand that this person wants to be social, and I love that they want to chat with me, and I would probably rather chat than finish my project, but I've got to finish that project. Otherwise, I'm going to be here late this evening. So, it's harder. I don't want to say it's harder, but it's hard for extroverts as well, because they really want to chat. I know the introvert probably doesn't want to chat, but the extrovert does. So it's harder to say, oh yeah, no chocolate for me.
Yeah, so I don't know the questioner if you're introvert or extrovert, but definitely you have to always be like, oh my gosh, it's so good to talk to you. I'll get to you. I've got to finish this thing. And another, I don't know how your office is set up, but if you can go to another, like a library or a conference room that's not being used, kind of hide out and get some work done. I've seen other people do, I didn't do this, is to put on the headphones, even if there's nothing on, if you work in a cubicle, as I did for 6 years, a sign, hey, I'm really under it, but always blame the work,
Oh yeah, plead to a higher authority. Oh my God, my boss is going to kill me if I don't have this to him or her by whatever time. Just I've got to get this done. I would love to chat with you. Let's do it later.
Right. And it's kind of the same principle for the question about when it's a senior leader who's like winging it and not being organized, saying, hey, we have a lot going on. Can we do this later? Can we organize this better? You've got to bring it up. And and not be not with a binary approach of I'm going to have this conversation and either we're going to fix it or not. You've got to be like the drip of water, the water
Chinese water torture.
Yes, yeah. Add that to your many hats, and hey, we have a lot to do. Let's respect everybody's time. I think we'll get a lot more done, and just be that person.
Absolutely, yes, I agree.
And that senior leader, even if they're unhappy with you in the moment, will eventually respect you because you'll get a reputation as somebody who's sharp and getting things done, someone to be feared.
Absolutely. And I think also if that senior leader, has given you, is the one who has provided the work for you, let's say, I'm Mr. Leader, I'm in the middle of project A. If this new thing that you're talking about is a higher priority, I'm fine passing that along to somebody else to do, or reprioritizing. So is project A more important or project B? And a lot of times like, oh, I just wanted to chat about something, project Z, which may not have anything to do with it. So you're letting them know that this is our priority. I'm happy to switch those priorities around if necessary, but basically, I'm doing what you told me to do. If you don't want me to do that anymore, I will.
I just got an email from somebody that missed out, but I wanted to say, speak up about it, but not as your issue, but as the issue that's affecting the team performance, and that everybody will benefit. Because it's true, everybody will benefit. Just remember that all this disorganization, just like communication, it's habits. And
yes.
The best way to change habits is with small changes. And so just setting aside 15 minutes of your day to organize your desk is the same as taking 10 minutes to organize an agenda, and even asking, especially it's a great time, it's January, on all your, your regular meetings, to just say, hey, let's talk about how we can make a better use of our time for this year. The workplace, change is accelerating. So we all need to be more productive. So,
Laura, there's one question on the chat I was going to answer.
Okay.
It says, what are your top 3 favorite office supplies and sources? I don't have a top supplies because everybody needs different things when I'm working with them. But I will tell you, good paper is excellent for notes. I find that important. Also having a box or a bin or a basket for storing your extra cords and cables is essential. So many times you get a printer or you get a new phone or you get whatever, and you need to keep track of those electronic cables and whatnot, the manuals, but I would keep those together in a plastic bin or a box, or if you have something already, that's great too. I also like having dividers in the drawers for your scissors and pens and all those kinds of supplies. If you have it, things that can go anywhere will go everywhere. Meaning, if you don't designate a home for things, they're going to end up all over in your office and you're not going to find them. The places I like to buy office supplies are typically the Container Store. I also like getting things or repurposing things from other areas, like maybe using a vase for storing my pens and pencils on my desk. So I like to get creative with my office supply sources, but the Container Store has really pretty things as well. Target actually also has really nice office supplies, so I like going there. The office supply stores are fine, but they just tend to be a little bit more generic. So it just depends on what suits your needs. Everybody's different.
Yeah, what kind of vibe you want. If you want it, like for me, I want it to look pretty. Carrie's, her organization stuff is always very attractive. Kirsten, who is from Pennsylvania, is saying that she has a vertical stacker on her desk and that it works great. That then when it gets full and overflowing and she has to clean it out. And we have someone, Melissa, you are not the furthest away. It's Christy from Oregon. So we have somebody from the left coast.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Yeah. One thing that Kirsten mentioned that's important is when it's overflowing, then I need to clean it out. That is spot on, and like high five to you, Kirsten, because that shows that you are observing limits. So part of designating a location for things is setting the limit for, I'm going to allow this many papers on my desk, and then I have to clean it out. Or I'm going to, my, pen container can only hold so much, and then when it's full, I've got to throw some of those out. Same thing with your clothes or your pantry or anything. When you designate a location or a container, that designates a limit. So it tells you not only where it goes, but how much you should have. And I see Melissa asked, other than my website, why thank you, what books or sites have been helpful in my organization practice? Do I like the KonMari method? Interesting that you asked, Melissa, because I am probably the only person on this call that does not have Netflix. And there's the whole new Marie Kondo series on Netflix right now. I'm actually considering getting it to watch it. I have read her book. I think it works well for some people, but not for others. I think it's very difficult for some people to organize, let's say, all of their clothes at one time or all of their books at one time. A lot of people need to do things in smaller chunks.
Yes, I know.
But other books that have been helpful, I like, honestly, as far as habits and things like that, I love Gretchen Rubin. Her book, Better Than Before, is excellent about how to implement new habit changes. I'm trying to think of the other organizing books that I have used. Julie Morgenstern is excellent as well. She's been, an organization writer forever. I think a lot of people get intimidated when they see sites like the Home Edit, which is beautiful. It's gorgeous, but they organize for people who have staff who maintain that organization for them. I like to think of systems that help people who are real, who actually buy their own groceries and have to put them away. So, and again, everybody is going to be inspired differently, and different techniques will connect with people in different ways. But I would say Gretchen Rubin is awesome for habits and that kind of mentality, that kind of thinking. And I'm trying to think who else. I'm sure there's other organization books out there, but I think you just have to find the system that works well for you, or hire an organizer to help you do that.
Right. And for those of you who are in Charleston, Melissa also loves Gretchen Rubin, so you can bond over Gretchen.
Yes. The 4 tendencies. Yes. So Melissa, I'll just ask you real quick. What tendency are you?
And for those of you who don't know, there are 4 tendencies that she has, kind of like personality types. And Carrie and I have the same one, don't we?
Yes. We're both rebels.
Oh, you're an obliger. I need an account.
Yes, well, yeah, obligers are great.
Obligers are the best.
Yes, and I'm married to an obliger. I think I have to be, because nobody else would put up with me. But yes, so the obliger, yeah, you're all about accountability. So working probably with somebody is helpful, or having someone who holds you accountable definitely helps. Rebels need to feel like they're making their own minds and doing things because how they want to do it, not because somebody else is telling them to do it. So
that's why we start our own companies, guys.
Right.
We're unemployable and only
no.
Look at that. All right, so if there's no more questions, there will be this recording, so you can watch it again. Fun. I know that a lot of people were not able to get on. If Carrie, why don't you put up your contact information? She is going to be in Charleston sometime in March. I don't remember the dates, if anybody wants to book some time with her. But this is her, the website, Facebook, Instagram.
And if you guys want to sign up for if you go to my website, I do a monthly newsletter. And if you sign up for it, you will get there's a paperwork timeline that I talked about earlier about how long to keep papers. So everything from your bank statements to credit card statements to other financial papers or even personal papers, how long you need to keep things. So that's a good reference for everybody. So if you just go to the website, neatsmart.com, and you'll see an opt-in, you can sign up there.
Okay, that's good. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to end this meeting. You know how to get in touch with Carrie. You know how to get in touch with me. thank you all for joining, for sharing part of your day with us. And
yes, thank you. This was fun.
it was fun. It just a commercial for the next webinar because I enjoy these so much. I'm doing another one this month with a millennial director of a super large corporation. She's going to talk about, because everywhere I go, people are asking me about managing millennials and motivating them. So I have a millennial client. She's actually a coaching client, longtime client, and we're going to talk about that on January 22nd. So have a great day, great month, great year, and thank you, Christy, for your nice comment that she had fun. Love. Oh, yes, we are here to encourage. Thank you, Kirsten. You know, I love these, and they're fast, and, you know, we just share information from people in our community. Somebody will rewatch because somebody, yeah, Sarah got called out. All right, guys, I'm ending it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.